What's up guys and welcome to FPL Today. I'm your host JNO, welcome to the channel and welcome to what should be a weekly series where I look over what happened in the game week, take the main talking points that I believe we should all discuss from the game week that's just gone, and hopefully that will help us prepare and move forward for the game weeks coming up. I'm not going to give it any fancy title, but I'm just going to literally title it with the talking points that I'm discussing today. And the first thing I want to discuss today is the deep lying midfielders. But before we get into that, if you're into fantasy football of any sort, but especially Fantasy Premier League, and you want some content in your subscription box about it, consider subscribing to the channel. We do FPL content all year round. And also hit that notification bell so you get my videos when they come out, because apparently just subscribing isn't enough. So, deep lying midfielders. We currently have a situation where in the first game week, 3 deep lying midfielders have turned up and scored some big points in the Premier League, and those that had them on the field definitely did very well, although some people will have had them on the bench, which would have been very, very painful. I know one of our subscribers had a lot of points on the bench. He knows who he is if he's watching, but I think it's definitely a talking point we need to go over, because I've had everything from it's one game week, let's see what happens moving forward, to people telling me I was completely wrong about all 3 of the players I'm about to discuss, and that they shouldn't have listened to me, which is fair enough. I never say you have to listen to me, I just give you my opinion. And to be honest, my opinion is maybe I am wrong about one of them, but if you listen to everything I said, I discussed all 3 in detail over the pre-season, and I don't think I'm necessarily going to be wrong about any of them. And the 3 are Kante, Jorginho and Ruben Neves. Now, in my eyes, a lot of people picked these players that were casual players, purely because of their price range, especially the Kante and Jorginho picks. Ruben Neves, potentially, I think, is actually an intelligent pick, having watched him play, and I'll get into why. But I'm going to start off with Kante first. A lot of people suddenly saying Kante should have been in the sides. He's the highest scoring £5 million midfielder from last year. He's already scored this season. Now, the reason he's the highest scoring £5 million midfielder from last season is because the players that scored more than him last season in that price bracket probably have had a price increase, whereas Kante didn't. Now, what I will say is I do believe in this new setup under Sarri that Kante will be more advanced than he usually is. However, 4th goal in 107 Premier League games. Wasn't a great finish either if you actually watch the game. He kind of hit it into the ground and it bounced over the goalkeeper. But because of his more advanced position, his points could increase from last year. But he's still not someone I necessarily think is someone I want in my side. The stats from that game as well, he literally had one shot, the shot that went in from inside the box, and created no chances. Those kind of underlying stats, I think you're going to, for about 5.5 million or 6 million, get a player that is going to score more points in the season than Kante is. So that is why I personally don't like Kante as an option. The second Chelsea midfielder to also get some points, getting 9 points, is Jorginho at 5 million as well. Now, the main point I want to talk about with this guy is he had a penalty. Now, will he take penalties when Eden Hazard is playing? He may still move, because Spanish clubs can still buy from the Premier League because their transfer deadline hasn't passed yet. But when Eden Hazard's on the field, I'm pretty confident he is their penalty taker. So I don't think Jorginho is going to be the guy on penalties all season. And also his positioning is a lot deeper than Kante and Neves. So I think if you're going to go for one of those Chelsea midfielders that is 5 million, I think Kante is probably the better option season long. But I do prefer Neves to both of them. Again, Jorginho only had 1 attempt, which was the penalty, and he got that on target, but that is all he had. He didn't create any chances either. Whereas I think if we look at Neves, we can see a player who got 12 points, which was higher than both Jorginho and Kante. He got 1 goal, 1 assist with 3 attempts, 1 on target, again, because they were from all outside the box, but that goal he scored with the free kick was a good goal. And he created a chance as well, of course, which got him the assist. I think with Neves, you're more likely to get points because of the kind of player he is and how important his chance creation and his moments of magic are going to be for that Wolverhampton side. So that is my take on the £5 million midfielders that, to be honest, a lot of people were upset that I wasn't necessarily pushing for. I've always said Neves was great at set pieces and he might be a worthy pick because of that. and I was saying Diogo Jota would be a better choice. I wasn't impressed with Diogo Jota, I'm going to be very, very honest there. So Neves I can see being a good choice season long after watching one game, but we need to remember it's one game week and things can change, will change, and just because someone has one good game week doesn't mean they're going to have a good season. The next point I want to talk about is World Cup star returns. Tottenham Hotspurs had a bunch of World Cup players that we all thought weren't going to start the season return for their game against Newcastle, as did the likes of Pogba, Maguire, Kante, Willian, sub-appearances from Hazard, Lukaku and Vardy. The effects of the World Cup clearly haven't stopped managers from playing their first 11. Now for me, I'm slightly worried, especially with Spurs, that maybe they return too early and in a month or two's time we could see some tiredness and jadedness. However, most players looked pretty good that returned from the World Cup that we weren't expecting back. The one person I don't think looked that good was Harry Kane. For a Harry Kane performance, this was very, very poor on the underlying stats. In the game I watched, I didn't think he was that impressive. Kane actually getting 1 point from 2 attempts on goal, both inside the box and 2 chances created. Now, if you know Kane from last year, 2 chances on goal for Kane in a match is very, very low. He looked off the pace. I personally think he needs a rest. So we'll have to see what happens with Harry Kane. But from what I saw, while I was worried when I saw his name in the starting lineup, I was not worried when I watched the game. So I'm quite happy that I've gone elsewhere for my premium price striker. Elsewhere though, I think Hazard now is definitely a good option to be picking. Pogba's someone to look at, although there's still rumours about how happy he is playing under Mourinho. And I think also any other Spurs option that you're potentially looking at could be viable now that a bunch of them have returned. Budget option plays is the next talking point, as we had numerous players come to the forefront of our thinking for our budget slots in our teams. These are the players that are at the bottom price possible who are starting, at least started for game week 1. Now, there are other options, budget options that are slightly higher than that also came to the forefront, but the ones I want to focus on are Hammer from Huddersfield, who started over Lascelles at £4 million. That's a £4 million goalkeeper. If you can find a good rotation partner for Ben Hammer, then potentially you've got 8.5 million spend in goal, which can be very, very good at the start of the season. Now, he did concede 3 goals. They were playing Chelsea, only made 1 save. So we'll have to wait and see if Huddersfield look like a viable option for our defences in any sort of form. But it was against Chelsea, who potentially had something to prove after their game in the Community Shield. But he is definitely interesting at 4 million. The next budget option, and this is a player I was speaking about a lot during pre-season, unfortunately I left him on my bench, is Wan-Bissaka, who came in with 12 points in game week 1 with 1 assist and a clean sheet, creating only the 1 chance for Zaha, which Zaha put away. But Wan-Bissaka looks like he could be a great option at right back. Apparently he was a right winger who's been converted to a right back, so he may get forward quite often. Still waiting to see on that, but Wan-Bissaka definitely looks like a good option for your sides if you're looking for that budget defender. Only issue being is if he keeps playing like this, he may not be a budget defender for much longer, and you may be trying to fit him into your starting 11. And then the final one I want to focus on, despite Peltier playing, Bennett actually looked pretty decent in that Wolves side. Ryan Bennett, £4 million. He only got 1 point and they did concede 2 against Everton, and Everton were down to 10 men for the second goal that they scored. But he created 2 chances, and potentially if he does beat out the signing that I've forgotten the name of for Wolves to one of those back 3 slots, Ryan Bennett could be a very cheap way into a Wolves side and a great rotation option if you can find a side that rotate well with Wolverhampton. The next talking point is Liverpool and their 4-0 victory over West Ham, which was painful to watch. 1, because I follow West Ham, and 2, because Salah scored 1, meanwhile Mane scored 2, so Kurt Yoy was very happy with himself. But Mane, Salah and James Milner all came out with some big points thanks to a great performance by Liverpool carrying on from last season. The press was still there, the attacking flair was still there. They were dominant in a display that has put them top of the table after game week 1. And the team lineup was pretty standard. All of the ones you'd expect to be in the starting 11 were there, but also because of the talent they now have on the bench, they actually subbed off Firmino, Salah and Mane all before the end of the full 90 minutes, with Sturridge also coming in and scoring a goal. Just a side note, Sadio Mane should have had a goal disallowed, but that doesn't affect FPL points. If the goal is allowed in the game, it's allowed in FPL. So Sadio Mane was the one that came out with the most points. So those of you that tripled up on Liverpool attackers and had any of these, you'd have been very happy with yourself. Mane at 9.5 million, got 13 points, probably with 3 bonus points. I'm recording this before the points are official, with 2 goals from 4 attempts on goal, all of them inside the box, 2 on target, and also creating 2 chances. Salah didn't prove value for at least this game week at 13 million. He got 1 goal from 4 attempts, 3 of them inside the box, 3 on target and 2 chances created. So at 13 million, he didn't get as many points as Sadio Mane, which is disappointing. And then James Milner, budget, 5.5 million midfielder, got 9 points, most likely 10 points with a bonus point from 2 assists, only 1 attempt on goal, but creating 3 chances. So Liverpool, and if I have to tell you this, then you weren't watching last year, Liverpool seem to be a very good source of attacking points, especially with their front three and midfielders and defence, who are also going to get points as well, like Andrew Robertson. Also prevalent this weekend was defenders bringing in the points. Plenty of defenders turned up with clean sheets and attacking returns from assists, and adventurous fullbacks and out of position players seem to be a key to our season. 9 defenders overall got double-figure hauls this weekend. I'm not one to say stack your defence, but if you did this game week, if you played 5 or 4 defenders and you picked the right ones, you would have been very, very happy with the end result of your overall rank. The ones that stood out to me were players that both got 2 assists apiece, one being Benjamin Mendy for Man City with a 2-0 win over Arsenal. Of course, getting that clean sheet, getting 12 points, most likely turning to 14 points with bonus points when they're confirmed. Getting 2 assists, also having 2 attempts on goal, 1 of them inside the box and 1 on target. And both of his chances created turned into goals. And Holebas at 4.5 million, 1.5 million cheaper than Benjamin Mendy, getting 13 points from 2 assists. Also having an attempt on goal, which wasn't from inside the box and wasn't on target, but created 5 chances, the most of any defender this weekend, and 1 big chance. So Holebas could be a way to bring in a nice cheap defender into your defence that can score points even when Watford may not get clean sheets. And then finally, we're going to end the episode on a ones to watch, where I'm going to go over the other players that I think we should be watching after what happened in the Premier League over the weekend. And Mitrovic is one that I am watching at 6.5 million. He's in the same price bracket as the likes of King and Wood. Now, despite the fact that he didn't score and got only 2 points, he had 7 attempts on goal, highest of any striker on Saturday, and he had 3 from inside the box with 3 shots on target, minute per attempt at 12.9, and shot accuracy at 42.9%. So I'm very excited to see if Mitrovic can keep these kind of underlying stats going and start scoring some goals along with it. Another player looking at is Richarlison, who at 6.5 million, 14 points. If you had him in your sides, you're very happy. Unfortunately, I drafted him out on Friday, which is a shame. He got 2 goals and no assists from 2 attempts, both from inside the box, and both were on target. Now, there was a slight knock, but it looks like it's not a serious issue. So Richarlison could be a great way into the side. However, scoring 2 goals from only 2 attempts isn't something that is usual in the Premier League for underlying stats for a player. So I'm waiting to see what he does in the next game. But I am very annoyed that I dropped him from my side, but eager to add him to my watch list and keep an eye on him to see if he can keep these kind of performances up. Another one I'm very excited about is Ryan Fraser, 5.5 million from Bournemouth. Now, 11 points for 5.5 million in the first game week is good. He did have a good end to last season, and in an interview he said he wanted to get around 10 to 12 goals this season. Now, he's already scored 1 of those, and he had 2 attempts, 2 from inside the box, only getting 1 of those on targets, but he also created 3 chances, 2 of which were big chances. So I'm very excited by Ryan Fraser, and at 5.5 million he shouldn't be difficult to fit into my side. So he's one that could look very, very promising and could be a rotation option with a striker. And then the final one, kind of the heir apparent to Richarlison from Watford, and that's Roberto Pereira. Now, there is rumours that he could go back to Italy, because of course Italy also can sign players from the Premier League because their transfer deadline isn't over. But 16 points in game week 1 from 2 goals from 4 attempts, all 4 coming from inside the box, and he created a chance. He looks like he could be a very important player for Watford if he does stay. and I really like the look of him. He's been involved in a lot of their goals from the end of last season as well, so he could be a player that we should be looking at to draft into our sides. And those are the 4 players that from Saturday's games that look the most exciting to me. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. It's much appreciated. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe and notification bell if you are new to the channel, and that like button. And also thank you guys so much for all the support over pre-season. It's been absolutely epic. If you want to support the channel in any other way, there's various links in the description which I know you all know about. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that's jumped aboard on Patreon during pre-season. Again, all your support is absolutely huge. As for when I'm next going live, hopefully I'm going to be going live on Tuesday, and we should be having an FPL Wildcats episode on Thursday. So make sure to stay tuned and be ready for that, where we'll talk more in depth about FPL. And I hope you all had an amazing game week 1 with a great start to the season, so we can get those elusive top rankings. With all that being said, I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game. If you notice anything different during the show, leave it in the comments down below.